I came home expecting the usual quiet street and found my driveway completely blocked. A woman in a bright blue neighborhood authority vest stood there like she owned the entire block, smirking at me. Then she waved over so-called community security in a fake-looking uniform and told me I was not authorized to park at my own house. I laughed at first until the guy reached for handcuffs and I realized this situation was about to turn dangerous. That afternoon, I was running on fumes. Work had been a complete mess. My phone kept buzzing with missed calls. All I wanted was to pull into my driveway, shut the car door, and breathe. The sun was low, the air was warm, and for a brief second, I felt lucky. My street looked calm, no kids screaming, no barking dogs, no delivery trucks parked sideways. Then I turned the corner and saw it. A silver SUV was parked straight across the mouth of my driveway like a barricade, not partially, not halfway on the curb, completely blocking it. My driveway is narrow, with a shallow ditch on one side. There was no squeezing around it. It felt like someone had placed a lock on my home. At first, I thought maybe a neighbor had a medical emergency. I turned on my hazard lights and stepped out, scanning the area for anyone waving for help. Instead, I saw a woman standing near my mailbox with her arms crossed, watching me like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. She wasn't subtle. Late 40s, maybe, hair pulled tight, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. She wore the kind of smile that never reaches the eyes. Her bright blue vest had bold white letters reading "Neighborhood Compliance" across the front, like a costume ordered online. She called out before I even reached my driveway. "You can't park here." I actually looked behind me, thinking she might be talking to someone else. "What?" She pointed at my driveway with one stiff finger. "That space is restricted. You need authorization to park in community-controlled zones." I blinked. My driveway is a community-controlled zone? She stepped closer, chin raised. "Yes, we've had complaints." Complaints about me parking at my own house? I tried to laugh it off because the alternative was losing my temper, and I could feel the heat rising in my chest. She didn't laugh. She didn't even blink. "You're violating neighborhood compliance. I'm enforcement." The words hit me like a slap. Because here's the thing. My neighborhood does have an association, and yes, they're annoying. They'll email you if your trash bin is visible for more than 6 hours. They'll find you if your grass looks slightly tired. But they do not block your driveway, and no one enforces anything by physically trapping you in your own home. I said slowly and clearly, "Move your vehicle. You're blocking my driveway. That's illegal." Her smile sharpened. "It's not illegal when it's for enforcement purposes." That's when I noticed something that made my stomach sink. The SUV had a cheap magnetic sign stuck to the door. It read, "Community Security." The letters were crooked, like someone slapped it on in a hurry. I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police." She waved her hand like I was being dramatic. "Go ahead. We have our own security. They'll handle it." I stared at her. "Your own what?" Right on cue, like the whole scene had been scripted, a man stepped out from between two parked cars across the street. He was big, not gym big, just heavy, thick arms, stiff posture. He wore a black shirt with "security" printed in yellow across the chest and a badge on a chain that looked like something you'd win at a carnival. On his belt, no joke, were handcuffs, a radio, and what looked like a holster. My brain did that strange thing where it tries to convince you that you're misunderstanding reality, because this was my street, my house, my driveway, and this guy was walking toward me like he was about to arrest me for trying to park at my own home. "You're trespassing." I turned to the security guy. "Are you a police officer?" He hesitated just for half a second too long. Then he said, "I have authority." "That's not what I asked." The woman snapped, "Don't play games." I kept my voice calm. "Do you have a state-issued license? Are you deputized? Are you a sworn officer?" He lifted his hand and tapped the badge hanging from his chain like that was supposed to settle everything. "Sir, you are refusing a lawful order." My heart started pounding. Those words, lawful order, weren't accidental. They were deliberate, practiced. And the more he spoke, the clearer it became. He was trying to sound like real law enforcement. He wanted me to believe he was legitimate. The woman tilted her head and raised her voice. Last warning, leave the area. If you force this, security will remove you. I laughed, but it came out tight. Remove me from my own property? In front of my house? With a driveway you blocked? The security guy's hand drifted toward his cuffs. He didn't grab them, just rested his fingers there. A threat wrapped in plastic and metal. That's when it clicked. If I reacted wrong, this could spiral fast. If I yelled, if I stepped forward, if I tried to move the SUV myself, any of it could be twisted into aggression. So I did the one thing they weren't expecting. I stepped back. I lowered my phone slightly and said, "Okay, no problem. I'll call the sheriff." The woman scoffed. "Call whoever you want. It won't change neighborhood authority." But her eyes flicked to the security guy, and his jaw tightened like he'd suddenly remembered something important. I dialed anyway, on speaker. I gave my address. I told dispatch someone was blocking my driveway and claiming authority to detain me. I described the uniform. I described the badge. I repeated the words, lawful order. Dispatch didn't sound amused. "Is anyone armed?" I glanced at the security guy's belt and answered carefully, "He appears to have a holster." The woman jumped in loudly, trying to take control. "He is not armed. He is community security." Dispatch came back sharper. "Ma'am, do not interfere with this call." For the first time, her face went pale. The security guy shifted his stance, suddenly unsure. He took a small step back, like the ground had turned hot under his boots. Then she did something that chilled me more than the cuffs ever could. She leaned toward my phone and said clearly, confidently, like she was playing her final card, "Tell them we already have an officer on scene." I froze. An officer? She pointed at the man beside her. "Yes, community security officer." The security guy swallowed hard. I looked at him again, really looked. The badge, the phrasing, the posture, the way he kept using law enforcement language. And in that instant, the story in my head shifted. This wasn't just neighborhood power tripping anymore. Blocking my driveway was petty. Threatening to detain me was insane. But pretending to be an officer? That was criminal. And when I heard sirens in the distance growing louder, I realized she had no idea what she had just admitted. On my recording. The first sheriff's cruiser turned onto my street slower than I expected, like the deputy was already sizing up the scene before stopping. The red and blue lights didn't scream. They pulsed, calm but undeniable. The moment those lights reflected off the fake community security magnet, everything shifted. The woman straightened her vest as if she suddenly realized how ridiculous it looked. The man in black, if I could even call him that, took another step back, then another, putting space between himself and me like distance could undo the last 10 minutes. The deputy stepped out first, calm, older, hand resting near his belt but not on it. His eyes moved quickly, from my phone still recording, to the blocked driveway, to the SUV, to the woman, and finally to the man in black. "What seems to be the problem?" the deputy asked, neutral but sharp. The woman rushed forward before anyone else could speak. "Officer, thank goodness you're here. This man is refusing neighborhood enforcement. We had to block the driveway due to violations." The deputy didn't react. He just asked, "Who blocked the driveway?" The woman hesitated, then pointed at the SUV. "Community security." "And whose vehicle is that?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then said, "It's authorized." The deputy turned to the man in black. "Is that your vehicle?" He nodded stiffly. "Yes, sir." "And your role?" He puffed his chest again, but the confidence was fading. "Community security officer." The deputy's eyebrow twitched. The woman jumped in fast. "Yes, he's our officer. He enforces neighborhood rules." The deputy looked at her for a long second. "Ma'am, do not answer for him." Then he turned back to the man. "Are you a sworn law enforcement officer?" The man swallowed. "I have authority." The deputy's tone hardened. "That's not an answer." Silence stretched. You could hear a lawn sprinkler clicking 2 houses down. "No," the man finally admitted. "I'm private security." The second cruiser arrived, pulling in behind the first. Another deputy stepped out. Young, eyes immediately locked on the handcuffs. The first deputy pointed at the belt. "Why are you carrying restraints?" "For safety," he muttered. "For safety for who?" The woman laughed nervously. "Officer, this is all being blown out of proportion. He didn't actually detain anyone." I spoke up, voice steady. "He threatened to and used the phrase lawful order." Both deputies looked at him again. The younger one asked, "Did you tell this man you were an officer?" The man shook his head too fast. "No, sir." The woman cut in sharply. "I did not say police officer. I said community security officer." The deputy turned to her slowly. "Ma'am, you told dispatch you already had an officer on scene." Her face flushed. "That's semantics." The deputy's jaw tightened. "No, it's not." The deputy gestured to the SUV. "Move the vehicle now." The man hurried toward it, like he was relieved to finally have something to do. As he moved, the magnet on the door peeled slightly at the corner, flapping uselessly. While he pushed the SUV forward, the deputy pulled me aside. "Did they prevent you from accessing your property?" "Yes." "Did they threaten arrest or detention?" "Yes." "And did either of them claim authority they didn't have?" I nodded. "It's all on video." The woman's head snapped toward us. "You're recording?" I didn't need to answer. The SUV rolled forward, clearing my driveway. The moment it did, the second deputy stepped closer to the man in black. "Sir, turn around." He froze. "Why?" "For investigation." The woman rushed over. "This is ridiculous. He didn't do anything." The first deputy held up a hand. "Ma'am, step back." She didn't. "This is community authority jurisdiction." The deputy looked her dead in the eye. "There is no such thing." The man was cuffed gently but firmly as the metal clicked shut. His shoulders sagged, like the weight of reality had finally hit him. The woman's voice went shrill. "You can't arrest him! He works for us!" The deputy answered calmly, "He impersonated an officer." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "And you," the deputy added, turning to her, "may have aided him." That's when she panicked. She started speaking fast, about rules, about power, about how someone had to maintain order because people like him, she nodded at me, don't respect authority. The deputies exchanged a look. "Ma'am, place your hands behind your back." Her laugh was hysterical. "You're joking." "I am not." The street felt like it had stopped breathing. Karen, backing away one step, then another, shouted, "This is harassment!" "Hands behind your back." She looked around as if someone would save her. No one did. As the cuffs closed around her wrists, the vest suddenly looked cheap, fake, just like everything else she had tried to claim that day. And as she was led toward the cruiser, she finally looked at me, not smug, not angry, but scared. "Wait, you don't understand why I did this." That was the first time she had said anything that sounded even remotely true. Her voice cracked, thin, desperate, not defensive or arrogant. "You don't understand why I did this." The deputy paused with the cruiser door open. He looked at her, then at me. "Do you want to hear her out?" Every instinct in me said no. 10 minutes ago, this woman had trapped me at my own house and tried to have me removed like I was garbage. But curiosity, the same thing that had kept me calm earlier, won again. I nodded. The cuffs stayed on. She took a shaky breath. "This house used to be mine." That landed harder than I expected. She turned slightly, staring at my front door like it was a ghost. I had lived there for 12 years, before the divorce, before the foreclosure. Her voice dropped. Before I lost everything. I felt something shift in my chest. Not sympathy exactly, but a kind of understanding that makes the past suddenly snap into focus. She continued, words spilling now that the dam had broken. When I saw your car here months ago, when I saw someone else living in my house, it made me sick. You changed nothing. Same paint, same lights, even the mailbox. The deputy raised an eyebrow. That doesn't give you the right. I know, she snapped, then deflated just as fast. I know, but the neighborhood authority, it was the only power I had left. They listened to me. They always did. I finally spoke. So you blocked my driveway because you wanted control? Her eyes flicked to mine. Because I wanted him. She nodded toward the security guy sitting on the curb. To scare you, to make you leave just once, just for a moment. The man in black looked at her in disbelief. You said this was official. She didn't look at him. I lied. The deputies didn't hesitate after that. The younger one read her rights, while the older one took my phone, carefully reviewing the video, the phrases, the badge, the claim of authority. Every piece clicked neatly into place. Impersonation, false detention, obstruction. As she was placed in the cruiser, she finally cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, defeated sobs. Before the door closed, she looked at me one last time. I never meant for it to go this far. I met her gaze. You did the moment you tried to take my freedom. The cruiser pulled away. The street returned to normal, like nothing had happened. Birds, wind, a neighbor pretending not to stare. The deputy handed my phone back. You did everything right. I watched my driveway finally clear and empty, and as I pulled in at last, one thought stuck with me harder than the fear ever had. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't authority. It's someone who's lost everything and decides to pretend they still have it. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every single subscription motivates me to bring even more exciting and dramatic neighborhood enforcement stories. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. I'll see you in the next story, where justice gets even more satisfying.